Welcome to the Hollywood Scholar. I'm Jed Morgan, and this story is a few days old, and I wasn't originally going to talk on it at all, but there's been a lot of people coming out and talking about it, and I felt like I should add in my 2 cents. So apparently, Marvel Comics is going to be depicting Jesus Christ as one of the original mutants, and have some storyline with him involved in it. And in and of itself, I actually don't have a problem with that for a lot of different reasons. The big problem that I've heard people saying is that other religions wouldn't have this happen to them, which I do have a problem with. I think it's either all religious adaptations like this are okay or none of them are. Like, you wouldn't see any Muslim character from Islamic mythology be depicted in a Marvel comic like this. Like, it would not happen. Or Hinduism or Buddhism. You wouldn't see anything like that. Any non-Christian one, besides paganism, of course, wouldn't be depicted in the same light. So I kind of don't like that double standard. But in and of itself, I really don't have an issue with it. And that is coming from a non-Christian perspective. But my religion has been depicted in entertainment many times. It's been adapted hundreds and hundreds of times over the last few millennia. So I've kind of gotten used to it. I should have been offended by the God of War series because it's about brutally murdering the gods. So, like, I should have an issue with that, but I knew it was detached and it was a fun game. It wasn't written from a place of malice, so I didn't have a problem with it. So, it's kind of different in this situation. Is it from a position of malice? Is it partially because of a double standard? There's just a lot going on with it that kind of makes this more of a gray area than other similar adaptations from religious mythology. So, in and of itself, I don't have a problem with it, but Marvel having a double standard, I do have a problem with it. So we got this article here from Bound in Comics that just breaks down the details of it a little bit more. So yeah, Marvel depicts Jesus Christ as a mutant in first issue of Immortal X-Men. In a move that surely has no possibility of backfiring, at least not from the industry, maybe from the comic book fans, Marvel has confirmed in the premiere of issue of Immortal X-Men that, at least within their 616 continuity, the miracles performed by the Christian Savior Jesus Christ were not a result of his holy existence, but rather a latent X gene. And a lot of people try to avoid Jesus in their, sci-fi worlds just because it complicates things a lot, and they just prefer not to talk about him. Like, even in Doctor Who, they reference Christ a few times, but they won't make a statement on who Jesus is because it kind of would contradict a lot of the things put up in these sci-fi universes, so it's better just to avoid the topic altogether. But I really don't have an issue with it as long as it's not from a place of malice and as long as it's okay across all religions. But let's see. But I have been given all authority in heaven and on earth. Go to the people of all nations and make them my disciples. See, that's not great art. That is god-awful art for a main Marvel comic. And it doesn't look like it's out of a position of malice. As long as it's not from a position of malice, I don't particularly have an issue with it, but it might be different from a Christian perspective, of course. Written by all of them, the March 30th debut of the Quiet Council-centric Immortal X-Men begins its core story with Magneto, freshly cleared of his murder of the Scarlet Witch, offering his retirement from the Mutant Species Leadership Board. Not sure what that's supposed to reference. Left with a void in Crocone leadership, the remaining Quiet Council members soon begin the process of appointing a new leader, interviewing a range of candidates, including Angel, all the other X-Men. Yeah, this art is really bad. However, after conducting interviews with these mutants, the Quiet Council finds themselves unable to reach any sort of consensus on who should replace Magneto. Amongst the interviews, Quiet Council member and Omega-level former X-Men foe Exodus, himself regularly established to be a devout follower of the Christian faith, makes his way to that play, seeking out Hope Summers for an audience as she plays her part in the island's resurrection protocols. Taking her side, Exodus explains to her that I am a mutant of faith. I have that faith in you, and you cannot prevent that. You're coming hold up. What? Are they implying that Hope Summers is the resurrected Christ? That's a different story. That's a different story entirely. At this point, making reference to her work with the resurrection protocols, Exodus turns to Hope and attempts to persuade her to his side by comparing her abilities to three resurrections. Okay, he's just saying that they're similar. I got very concerned there for a minute. But yeah, it was just, she's resurrecting, and so a Christian guy came up to him and was like, yeah, you're resurrecting like this other guy who resurrects. that's a very basic reference. That's nothing untoward, and I don't know what. Okay, so yeah, this isn't in the actual the Marvel comic. I thought this was from the Marvel comics. This is a completely different thing, but they're both terrible art. But yeah, it's a throwaway reference. It really doesn't seem to impact the story all that much. Just saying, hey, you can resurrect people. So did this guy. Not really that big of a deal. And yeah, doesn't seem to be out of a place of malice. Double standard is concerning to me, but from my own religion, at least from my perspective, they've been adapted in a lot of different ways and in a lot of ways that I should be upset with, but they weren't out of malice. So as long as that's the case, I don't really have an issue with that. And religion is kind of an interesting thing to delve into in a sci-fi realm. So I think it is interesting if it's taken from the right perspective and not from a place of malice, and there's a lot of interesting things you can do with it. In my own book series, I do feature Jesus Christ quite prominently in the story, and I try to take it very carefully. So I understand the attraction to including him, as long as it's done for the right reasons, it's good for the story, or doesn't really make a difference in this case. So in and of itself, this is one of the few times I'll side with Marvel Comics that I don't really care. If they, in future issues, explore that issue deeper and go at it from an antagonistic perspective, of course my opinion will change on the subject. But as of right now, not a big deal. Upset that there's a double standard, but nothing to really be concerned about from my perspective at least. But anyway, that's all I have for today. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you on the next video. Anon. If you like what I do here and want to see good, compelling stories that Hollywood will no longer give you, check out my book series, Odyssey of a Phoenix, a mythological epic about philosophy, morality, and modern-day mental illness issues. Books 1, Down in Flames, and Book 2, Apocalypse Then, currently on sale. Book 3, Kill the Dark, coming soon.